Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unique Peace. I am Janice. I am the quiet healer here on Long Island. I am an intuitive medium and Reiki master teacher, as well as your host. And today I'm very excited to have JJ Flizanes on. She's an empowerment strategist who does so much, and I'm so looking forward to hearing how she finds peace. I want everyone to welcome me and welcoming JJ. Welcome.
Hi, Janice. Thank you.
So, how are you today in lovely California?
I'm great. It's a great day. Yeah, I feel great.
Here on the East Coast, we're happy it's not raining. So,
Well, it's our normal sunny and 75, so can't complain.
nope, nope. So, I would like to hear about how you became an empowerment strategist.
Okay, how long do we have? No, I'm serious. How long do we go?
I usually go about 45 minutes, but we can go over.
No, I can talk in sound bites and I can tell stories. So I needed to
Tell me
know.
a story. I
Okay.
want a story.
Well, I want to give a little bit of sound bite because I want to put the story where it's more impactful, if that's okay.
Yes.
So the sound bites are singer, dancer, actress, younger, interested, emotional, feeling, right brainer, intuitive, goes to college for musical theater, comes out of college and says, I don't want to wait tables. I like to use my brain. Oh, I'm going to be a personal trainer. Oh, that's cool. I love my body. I want to look better. I want to be healthy. Learn about personal training, learn about science. Science turns on the left brain. And I go, whoa, wait a minute. I'm smart. I didn't even know that. Like, I'm good at this. Like, I get science now because I can see it. Because before it was, if it's ethereal, like, if like you talk about different sciences, and I'm like, okay, if I can't see it, it doesn't exist. Like, if my brain can't make sense of it in a mechanical way, then I can't, if I can't see it, it doesn't have to be in person, see it. It could be, just in my brain, see it, then it doesn't make any sense to me. So finally, in the world of personal training between anatomy and physiology and all of that, I started to be able to see the sciences of the body, and it made a lot more sense to me. And then it clicked in so much that I realized I was smart and and pretty smart at that. So then I started personal training, and then throughout my career as personal trainer, besides learning the sciences of the body and asking different questions and figuring out how to apply, because it's not about a protocol. It's never about here's what you do. If anyone's ever getting a protocol from anyone about anything, throw it away because it's not personalized. It's not for you. You have to start with what is it for you, and the factors that go into what that protocol is made up of. Now, there might be a structure that you work within, but the details of the structure need to be personalized to you to make them the most effective. Otherwise, where are you getting your information from? And so for me as a trainer, I learned how to think. I learned how to analyze things from like 6 different questions instead of, well, you're this age and this is what your goals are. And so here's what you do. Like that, which is what most personal trainers are doing. They're giving protocol, and same thing with diet plans. Here's what you should eat. Well, how do you know that about that person if you're not testing them or if you're not asking different questions? Not everyone needs the same food. We all need different things. And then what are we going to do? So all of that taught me how to think and how to analyze from a broader perspective. And then as I applied all my sciences to people's bodies, and some got great results and some didn't, of course, you have to ask the question, well, why are they not getting the results? Well, they're not getting the results because they're not very disciplined. So, they do their hour in the gym and then they go home and they binge, or they don't do any of the things, they overdrink, they overeat, whatever. Well, then that just begs different questions. So as a great problem solver, if I don't have the information, I'm going to go find it. And then we ended up with people with back pain or different joint pains. And I got really good at being able to manipulate your body and gravity to produce exercise in any position with any kind of resistance. So that way someone with injuries could still get an exercise routine and still make progress, even working around and not activating the injury, and sometimes even rehabbing the body back into wholeness. But the question kept coming to my mind. Okay, well, why are they injured? Like, why are these people, like, what's going on here? And it was the back pain, the chronic back pain, that really kind of led me to Dr. John Sarno, learning about quantum physics and emotions and how they get blocked in the body. I already knew about hormones and kinesiology and biomechanics and anatomy, but and digestion and biochemistry, but it was the outer layer. It was the spiritual body. It was the how we hold emotions. And again, that for me is very physical. Like I can see that immediately. Emotions to me are like air. They're like clouds and you can hold them just like air. And so when I started to learn how emotions get held in the body and then turn into pain, or that the pain is blocking you from feeling the emotions because they're rage or you're afraid of what you're going to do. The body's actually protecting you through the pain. That just begged the question of, okay, what's next? And it kind of, first I went really deep in and then I really went wide out. And the wide out, of course, is the metaphysics and the quantum physics and the spiritual side of this life and our bodies and our emotions. And the intersection of all of that was Empowerment Strategist, because the left and right brain, what I learned along the way, that I was pretty balanced brain for most of my life, but I wasn't activated in the other side of the brain. Like I was drawn to, as a Pisces, as an emotional person, I was drawn to the theater and to expression. But then when I learned something for the first time that really spoke to me and really activated the left brain, I was like, oh, that's always been there. So then it became this living in this space of noticing when I'm out of balance. Like if I was too much in my left brain doing problem solving, I'm like, oh, my body, I need expression. I need to, so I'd go, create a show and so I could cry and scream and let it all out. And so, but if I was too right brain, I'd get bored too. I'd be like,
Right.
I need to figure something out. So Empowerment Strategist came after many, many versions of a brand that
Okay.
didn't quite fit. I'm not a personal trainer. I am not really a life coach. I am, but that's not what I do. And it's who do I want to work with and what's the plan here? Everything I do, regardless of what area it's in, money, health, relationships, or self love and respect and self healing, it's all about empowerment. It's all about taking yourself out of the victim position and daring to believe and see that the world is actually on your side and that you are not a victim to everything. And that and even if you do believe you are a victim of some things, being in that position gives you no power. There's nothing you can
Right.
do about it if you blame everything else and everybody else. So the empowerment piece to me is the right brain piece. It's the feeling. In fact, today in one of my small coaching groups, I mean, we've been at this, we started 2 weeks ago. We've had two group coaching calls, and it's been a week and a half of Marco's. And already with one exercise, somebody on here who had a hard time said, as of today, I already feel more calm, more ease. I can sleep better. I've been living this panic and I'm no longer panicked. It's been 2 weeks, right? So it's all about that empowerment piece of coming into yourself, being in alignment and experiencing life and seeing life through a different set of eyes that interprets the world differently so that you can see different truths than you may know right
Right.
now. So that's the empowerment piece. And then the strategy piece is that you need that left brain. You need a plan. You can't just feel it. If you just go by your feelings all the time, your feelings aren't going to tell you when you're wrong, that you're misinterpreting the situation. Your feelings are going to let you upper limit in life because your feelings are going to say, oh my God, this is scary. Don't do this. But all that is your inability to push through because you don't know what you're doing. You just look at it and your brain goes, I'm going to die. I can't tell you how many clients come to my live events and literally all the left brainers, all the white knuckles go up and, they won't let themselves cry. I'm like, you're not going to die. Crying, you're not going to die from crying today, okay? But then they cry and they go, oh my God. And I'm like, can you please repeat that mantra? Because it's almost like they stop themselves from breathing, thinking that I'm gonna die. I'm like, you're not gonna die. I know you feel so out of control right now, but I promise on the other side of it, you're going to feel relief. So we need this strategy in place to understand all the components that are working with you and against you so you can make decisions about how far to push yourself or what choices to make about the healing journey that's right for you.
And I want to welcome Michael. And he says, yes, we are all powerful.
Hey,
So,
Michael.
um, and I love that because you got to come out of the victimhood. And so many of us, I mean, I'm guilty of it. I'm pretty sure 90% of the population has been guilty of it. It's somebody else's fault. It's the victimhood, but you got to take accountability. I mean, I personally had to take accountability. Relationships are a dance. I had to, when I got divorced, I had to take responsibility for my end of how that relationship went and how it ended. So coming out of that and saying, I'm not going to die. I'm going to get through this. So I love that. You feel the emotions and you acknowledge and you move forward. So I love that. I love that. So in kind of working with that, um, a lot of us find ourselves in therapy or talk therapy or couples therapy. And I saw on your website you have this article and this piece where talk therapy doesn't work. Can you kind of walk us through that?
Sure, it's actually like a master class, so it's available for anybody that wants to watch it. It's about 90 minutes long, and I go through 3 reasons why talk therapy is ineffective. But I'll tell you that since recording that almost 2 years ago now, I feel like it's been at least a year, maybe 2 years. There's at least 2 more. Like, there's at least 2 more. Like, I feel like didn't have the need to do it again. And again, there's very well thought out experiential things. I'll just start with the first one, since I know we had Michael here, and maybe there are some men that are watching, but women can relate to this as well. Traditional, and I'm talking about traditional talk therapy. So if you love your therapist and your therapist has changed your life and your life looks different and you react differently in the same situations, what I'm about to say is not for you. I'm only speaking to those of you that have been through therapy, didn't love it, didn't really think it changed you a lot. Maybe you're more aware of some stuff, but you keep repeating the same patterns. You keep marrying the same person. You keep dating the same person. You keep reacting the same way to the same people. And the only way you think you can get relief is by cutting people off or changing your circumstances. That's not healing. Healing is when you're different in the same situation, not you getting rid of the situations to get rid of your stress. That's not healing. So the first one, it came because, well, I had gone to a couple different therapists over time. I started off with a coach, actually. I think I first had a coach before I ever had a therapist. And I really loved the way coaching went. Coaching was, I came with the problem. We talked, it was on the phone at the time. We talked about the problem. And I knew this person, I'd met her at a networking event and I really liked her energy. And we talked about the problem. And then she'd take me to some place where I would have like an emotional like release of the problem. And then we'd talk about the solution to the problem. And then by the end of the session, I was sort of like on cloud 9. I'm like, okay, cool, great. I feel empowered. I'm going to go do something about this. What happens in therapy? Tell me what's going on with you right now. Blah, 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 story. How does it make you feel? Blah, 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 story. And what do you think about that? How's that make you feel? Blah, 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 blah. Well, let's talk about like how that connects to your past and blah, blah, blah. And then by the end of the session, potentially you're in a really bad place. You're like, you're reliving a bad emotion. And now it's like, oh, our 50 minutes is up. Okay, well, I'll see you next time. And you leave feeling crappy. There was no plan. There was no structure. What do I do now? If I'm supposed to come to therapy to like work something out and I leave feeling worse, who wants to come back? That's
Right.
one point. I don't even think I've had that in the first 3. That was like maybe a 6th one. But the other thing that I was thinking, the first one is it doesn't have a lot of structure. And again, like I said, this is traditional talk therapy. There are therapists out there that are doing other things. I recognize that. But again, if all your therapist ever does is ask you what happened or what's bothering you today, which could have happened yesterday, which I'll tell you right now has nothing to do with what's going to heal you. Because anything that's happening right now is attached to a core wound. That's why I have been on this I'm becoming an expert in rewiring core wound patterns, because I want to get to I want to get to the truth of the fastest way to identify what's going on and then put all my efforts in changing that belief, whatever that belief is. But what happens is in regular therapy, you'll go in and talk about what happened and situational and circumstantial. And then you deal with the circumstance and then it gets put down. Maybe you have some relief. Well, then it happens again in another way. Well, what's the core wound pattern in all of this? It's what happens now for you has nothing to do with now. It's what happened. It's your belief system coming into this whole conversation. So especially for a guy, and it could be for women too, if you're just going to go in and, you're there for a month or 2 months or 2 years and you don't know what your core wounds are and you don't know what your goals are, then the lack of structure leaves you going, what am I doing here? I'm going to complain about my partner or my children or my job. And maybe I'll feel some relief and validation because someone's going to reflect back to me that that's really terrible. Oh, I feel so bad for you. That's really terrible. And maybe I'll feel seen and heard for an hour every week for months. But does my life look different? Do I react differently to things? Have I learned anything different? Do I have a different perspective of anything? Maybe, but not necessarily. So these are some of the reasons why I think people get frustrated. The reason why so many people are going is because they know they have a problem. They're depressed. They're anxious. They have stress. And in a culture where we're not taught how to be empowered, where we're taught to be victims, we're taught to blame other people for our problems and what's going on in the world. And we don't understand frequency and vibration. We don't understand personal power or alignment. Of course, people need help, and that's where they go because it's covered by insurance. And so you can get your job or your doctor to write a prescription for you to go to insurance because you don't know what else is out there. And maybe you try like a couple different therapists and you find one you really like because they resonate with you. And maybe they have a couple other tools that they use with you. Hope, God willing, that they give you some other tools. But generally, again, the system is almost like allopathic medicine. Someone who's in allopathic medicine, you're going to the hospital, their pharmaceutical companies run all of that. If
Yeah.
you understand health on any level, you understand that there are naturopathic, there are integrative medicine, there are functional medicine, there are herbal ways, Chinese medicine ways, there are ways that are way older and been around for years and decades and hundreds of years longer than Western allopathic medicine. So it's almost like our traditional therapy is in alignment with allopathic medicine. And then some coaching and some therapists will take you beyond that into a world where we combine and we look at the spiritual side and the bigger picture and we go way deeper really fast. And that's what I like to do with people, is to create a like get really deep really fast to understand and just identify, almost like a doctor. The way that I do things now, based on my experience and what I've learned and what I've used in my own life, is to sort of do a diagnostic, to have that first session or two, really figure out what your core wounds are, and then create what I call a core wound map. And then now we have a plan. We have a plan to go somewhere and do something. So now we can make choices based on the plan versus telling the same story over and over again, year after year, and then wondering why your life doesn't look any different.
Understood. Now, a lot of people will go to therapy searching for a solution, but also searching for some peace. So when we think of that, I want to know, how do you define peace?
Well, if you're looking for peace by having someone else listen to you, and that's it, that does have some value to be seen and heard. But if you have a negative emotion, it's because a need is not being met. And if you don't learn how to get the need met, it will repeat itself and it won't be solved. So, how do I find peace, or how do I define peace? Solving the need, figuring out how to get, like, teaching people how to get their own needs met so that they aren't relying on other people to change or circumstances to change for them to get their needs met. And in fact, I have a free download, and anyone's welcome to get it, but it's a feelings and needs list. I teach this whole like 3-part process of identifying your feeling, and then you're having this negative feeling because there's a need not being met. Now, that doesn't mean the need is actually not being met. It could just mean your perception is it's not being met. So whatever it is, it has to do with a need. But we're not very well versed in needs. We think need means needy, need means weak, need means victim. It doesn't. Everyone has 86 basic human needs. You need everything on this list. And if you're not getting it, you're going to have somewhere in your life, you're going to be confronted with that need. So how do I define peace? Is learning how to get your needs met and empowering yourself to know that you already have the tools inside of you to do all of it.
Beautiful. So how do you find it? How do you, JJ, find it personally?
Again, it's peace to me is expansion. There is the needs and feelings part of this. Like if I'm having a negative reaction, or if I'm having a negative emotion, I want to know why. Emotions aren't like smoke. They don't just like roll in the air and then you catch it. Okay. Like your emotion is based on your perception and interpretation. So it's not a mistake. It's not by accident. It's not because you caught it like a flu. It literally is an interpretation and a meaning, but it's personal to you. It's how you see the world. So for me to find peace, I have to understand what's going on with me. What is it that I need? So that's how I find it, on a level to be able to know, like, whatever it is, I can get it met. Like, what am I doing? Like, what's going on with me right now? What do I need? And when I go, oh, I need a nap. Oh, okay, I can get a nap. Right. So, and that, again, that's a silly, light and fun kind of example, but that exercise, that knowingness that I can get my needs met, brings me a sense of peace. Nothing else can. But at the same time, I also want to expand past this world to understand that I'm part of all it is. And that brings me peace, understanding how that this physical body is only a small portion of my beingness. So if I get that, then I've already expanded past the point of view that this life and this situation, right, that like
Right.
it's so small is so much bigger. You get perspective, and then that also brings me peace.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And when you find your personal perspective and you find your personal peace, how does that help you bring peace to others?
Well, I teach people the tools. I teach people how to love themselves. I teach people how to feel safe. I teach people how to forgive themselves, how to forgive others, how to look at things differently, how to notice themselves, to be an advocate for themselves, to honor themselves. And that's how I bring peace.
And Michael says he can relate to that, what you were saying about figuring out what's going on inside you and having that need met, discovering what your needs are. So, and when you're teaching people how to, yeah, essentially tune in and find peace for themselves, what are some of the tactics and techniques that we can tap into?
Well, the tool that I told one of the clients in the small coaching group right now, the Rewiring Your Core Wound Pattern program, that I told her to use was a little bit of, it was a combination of two things. It was a combination of mirror work and Ho'oponopono. I wanted her to do
Love
Ho'oponopono I
Ho'oponopono.
told her to do Ho'oponopono in the mirror. And actually it was advice I had given somebody else, but it was applicable to her too. And so I said, yeah, that would be good for you to do 3 minutes a day. And then she did the 3 minutes in the mirror, and then she continued to do the mantra all day. And that's the thing that's shifted her, amongst other things. But that, the combination of a couple of things helped to bring her nervous system down. So, I have so many tools. I can't, like, we could be here for a year and I'd still be telling you about the tools, because that's what I've been doing. I collect them. Like, if I ever have a problem, or if someone else has a problem that I don't have the answer for, I go find a solution. And so it's an always evolving. Now there are tools that I don't use that are out there that I'm sure other people love and swear by. And I'm like, awesome. Like, everyone keeps wanting me to do Enneagram and human design. And I can see the value in them, and more so human design than Enneagram, but because I'm very well versed in Western astrology, and while I see Vedic and I understand it's maybe greater value, I am so entrenched in Western astrology that I'm like, I don't want to learn another system. This system works for me. It works really well. I know it well. I don't need to replace it. So for me, there is an endpoint of, if I have tools that always get the job done, I don't need to go learn every little thing, right? It's always when there's a next level and a next level. And I get the right and appropriate tools coming to me. They just sort of show up and appear at the right time, of course.
At the
And then
right time, yep.
yeah. And so I'm constantly learning, but I'm not constantly seeking anymore, because I have so much that kind of get the job done. So, um, but yeah, it's so many. But the Ho'oponopono is a great one for people. And, I teach law of attraction. And so I always think increasing your frequency and vibration in whatever way works for you, doing an appreciation journal, doing a rampage of appreciation, dancing to music in the morning, like, vibration and frequency is so important. And there's so many things you can do that are really fast and easy and integrate into your day while you're driving, or when you're home, making dinner, or in the morning when you're having your coffee. Like, so many easy things that you can do that make a big difference.
I totally agree with that. I take and do the morning data dump. So, or I find actually the data dump works best before you go to sleep, because then your brain is clear before you go to sleep. There's not stuff still sticking around in the morning, but I'm not gonna lie, lately I've been doing it in the morning with coffee. But also taking like that early morning walk by yourself or with a partner to kind of clear and get that fresh air and get your body moving is a great way to find some peace. Do you do things like that? Do you incorporate those type of peaceful meditative moments in your own life?
Absolutely. Getting still. Yes, getting still. I have a bathing ritual. I've got binaural beats. Yes, I have a property. I have a hot tub and a pool, and like trees, and there's walking the grounds, and like silent meditations, walking meditations. But yes, the tools that I have for all of that usually come at a place where I say, what I check in with what I need. So that rather than just a routine of here's what I'm going to do every day, which is fine. Routine is great and discipline is great. And sometimes things need time. Like, I mean, I exercise 5 days a week and that's routine, but there, I mean, we didn't today because my partner is starting to feel a little bit under the weather. And I said yesterday, do you want to skip tomorrow? And he said, I do. I said, okay. And there are times where my body gets pushed so hard that I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do tomorrow either. I wake up, I say, nope, my body says, nope, not today, but I'm disciplined enough that that doesn't derail me. Like I start the next day, like I'll do 4 days instead of 5 days, but I'm very dedicated to the practice. And same thing with adding in meditation and things that are quiet or being in nature or earth bathing, like, or forest bathing. It's what do you need? I connect to like, let my body tell me what it is that I'm yearning for, like what will be most effective. And then I do that, whatever that is.
And as you're doing and you're learning and things are coming to you, because I know very much like when you're chasing or you're trying to pull something to you, it doesn't come. It's that resistance. So what has been the most interesting thing in the last, I'd say, year that has come your way that you utilize when creating your classes and giving your coaching strategies? What have you thought, oh, that's new, come to you?
Well, it's this. Back in 2019, I had my first. I've had about eight or nine live events, and that my podcast community comes to. I really don't market anywhere else. And in 2019, I had my first manifestation boot camp, and one of my listeners, and she was a new listener at the time, maybe only 8 months, but she had binged the entire show and come to the event and said, "You need to teach what you do." And I said, "I am. I'm teaching on the podcast." She goes, "No, you need to teach other trainers what you do, or either coaches." And I was like, "Oh, I can't teach people what I do. It's my brain. It's how my brain works. What do you mean?" And so
I
again,
understand.
that did not land at that moment. But then a business coach friend of mine, like a week later, sort of said the same thing. And I was like, oh my God, I can't. Like I just kept saying, I can't. And then like another week later, I was standing barefoot on some grass, drinking a cup of coffee up in Santa Cruz, California, which of course I'm sure that energy helped. But and I was standing there and I got this hit of like I saw it. I'm like, oh, okay, now I see. I'm not going to teach them how I think. I'm going to teach them the tools. So fast forward, it was 2021 and I started my first certification program. And so the Empowerment Strategist certification, I had 2 years, 2021 and 2022. And then after that, I decided, well, I'm going to put this on pause right now because I don't need any more trainers. But then part of me thought, but I still, there's magic in this work with this small group coaching. And I'm like, I want to keep doing this. So then I did. This year was another 6-month deep dive. That was the best thing I could come up with for a name at the time. Anyway, so and then I tried a 3-month version of it last year. But what's happened is the continual work with it keeps getting deeper and deeper and fine tuning and fine tuning and fine tuning. And I think I'm someone who normally, when I get an idea, I'm very good at producing and doing. And I've written 3 books and I wrote all those books sort of with a little bit of an anxious energy underneath them. Like I'm writing this to get to the other side of this. And the 4th book has been sitting with me. I know what it's about. I know what it's going to say, most of it, not all of it. But I've kept coming up against it and saying, is it time? My body says, no, not time. I'm like, okay. And then at the end of this 6 months, when I got clear and clarity on deepening one more time, like to the, like this process that I've created, I'm like, oh, I needed to do this now. Like I almost feel like I'm back to the personal training mode of now I'm a trainer, but the trainer is in emotional and changing of behaviors. But it's sort of the same need for accountability and pushing you through resistance, pushing you through limitations, stretching you beyond what you're normally doing. It's literally the personal trainer mindset, but with emotional stuff. So when I finally figured that out, and then I put that out there and I've had a group, I'm on my 2nd group doing it. I'm like, oh, I'm ready to write the book now. Okay, I got it. So now I'm ready to write the book. And so I'm writing the book. And it's really just been a fine tuning because I'm creating it. I mean, I don't know anyone else that's doing this like this. And there may be, I don't know. I just don't know them because I'm I'm a pioneer and a leader. So I'm not really looking for anybody else. If you show up in my presence because I need you and I trust universe will put you on my path if there's something for me to learn when it's time from somebody else, which I always do. But yeah, so I'm ready. So what came, I guess, this year was, okay, you're ready to write this book. You have the information, you've tested it out, you've changed lives. People are still reeling from they're still using the tools. It's effective. because I've done all kinds of work. I've done hypnosis and all the subconscious stuff, and I was all a big believer in all of that. Not that I'm not, but after having so many people deal only with subconscious stuff and see it not work, see it not last, see it not make a bigger impact because it didn't change the way they interpreted the world. I was like, nope, there's something wrong here. You can't just go to, and I love all the healers. I believe all healers are important and I have been changed by so many people who are healers. But we need to change the computer program. It can't just be someone helps to clear your energy and then all of a sudden you're going to look at the world differently. You might, but 9 times out of 10, I've seen that person needs to actually learn something new. They need a new perspective to see the world differently. They can't just all of a sudden wake up one day and see everything differently and interpret differently. So I think that computer aspect of our conscious brain is how I try to bring peace to people when they can expand their interpretations out from whatever information they have. When they learn more, they go, oh, it could be this, it could be that. I don't even know. I don't care. It doesn't bother me anymore. So it's really fun.
I kind of understand where you're coming from with the subconscious, but I do believe for me and a few others that I've worked with that when you bring the subconscious forward, then the rewiring can take place. So it kind of mixes together because there's so many, for me, it's like, okay, I was doing things subconsciously, but once it's brought to your attention, once it's brought to your consciousness, it's what are you going to do with that information? Are you going to take that information and change it? Or are you going to say, okay, that's what's happening and let it lie? And that I think is what happens to some people is like, okay, they're aware, but they do not want to change the pattern.
Right. Oh, there has to be an awareness. Absolutely. Um, but there has to be a willingness, like you said, to change the pattern. And so many people want to delegate their healing to other people. Oh, just come in and Reiki me and I'll be all better. Or you're clearing this energy from me or clearing these past lives from me. And all of a sudden my life is going to be different. And again, there are blocks that your life will be different, but there's still going to be the barrier of if we don't change the interpretation after that subconscious comes forward and we know what we're dealing with, we understand it. Although I know that one of the doctors that had me on her show, she said, well, what if someone doesn't know what they believe, like in terms of manifestation? And I said, well, then you take a step back and you look at what you attract because you can see in what shows up in your life, what you believe. So consciously, someone might say, oh, well, I believe that I like myself. I had one person in this last program. She came in, she's like, I'm nice to myself. I have compassion. And then by 5 months later, she's like, oh my God, I really didn't have any compassion for myself. I'm like, right. But it took some time for her to see that and to shift that and to change that and to feel that. But the awareness piece, she was blocked in even seeing that she didn't have compassion for herself. And now she's like, oh my God, I was really hard on myself. But she came up defending it at the beginning. And now she's like, God, I don't do that anymore because we've been tasking the stretching into doing the opposite thing. So, but I agree with you. Yeah. It's how it's being presented is, I guess, what I want to say. There are some people that they think that whatever modality it is, whether it be therapy, some kind of healing technique, some kind of energy medicine, they want to give all the power to that one thing, thinking that that's going to wipe a slate clean and it has use and value. But if it doesn't change your entire life forever, you go, and maybe it didn't work. Well, it did, but you just don't understand what it worked on. So I think there's some kind of need again for a structure or understanding of what even working with. What are the goals here? What are the wounds that we're dealing with? Where are we going? And then how do we know when we get there? So I think a little bit of that left and right brain is needed no matter what the modality is.
Right. Yes, I can agree with that 100%. And you can't give your healing to someone else. You can ask for help. And that's what you're kind of getting at because on me personally, on my healing journey, it's like, yeah, I'm a Reiki master, I'm an intuitive, I'm a medium, but I've had help along the way, but only I can do the work.
Right. Oh
And
yeah, I
I
love all
was
those things.
one was like, I wanna give it to somebody else, you tell me what to do, and it's like, well, you need to do the work, and it's like, what it is internally, and I think this is true for a lot of people, and you meet that resistance is, "I don't wanna do the work, I don't wanna take a look in the mirror." And when you take a look in the mirror and I'm a big fan of Louise Hayes, I love Louise Hayes, and when she would do mirror work, and you have to look at yourself and say, "I love you," people will look away. They can't look at themselves in the mirror. That is, as someone who's done it, The hardest thing is to say, I love you. Have to love all of you, even what you consider broken. You have to love all of you in order to heal, in order to move forward. And we all still have those moments of ego and wounds and lashing out. You have to understand where those are coming from. And even when you do, sometimes it's like, what are you going to do with that? How do you sit with that? I go take a walk. I can't sit with it. I go take a walk. I go find myself some peace. Go work it out. So I love where you're coming from. It's like tuning into your body and saying, okay, what do I need to do? And
Yeah, I love all the modalities that you just mentioned, and I've used all of them, and I continue to call upon them when the situation arises or when that feels like that's where I need to go for the next level of whatever I'm dealing with. But that's again where I've kind of come up with I have a program called the Roadmap to Emotional Healing, and the roadmap is about creating the map. And parts of the map and parts of your healing journey are going to include all these things, but it's understanding where they come in your journey and why they're there and what to expect from them. It's too many times people they just try something and they think, just like with diet or with exercise, they'll try some modality for a certain amount of time without really understanding how it all works or what maybe they expect from it. And what it's like, as a trainer, I used to joke about Pilates because people would come in and let's say you're a fairly, you're a middle of the road, average shape person. You're not super fit, but you're not, a couch potato. You work out, you kind of, but you want to lose some weight, but maybe you only think you have 5 or 10 pounds to lose. But then you go to Pilates. And not hot Pilates or not Pilates bar, not just like traditional like Pilates, right?
yeah,
And all of a sudden people, they love it, but they go, but I'm not losing weight. I'm like, well, Pilates isn't necessarily designed to work you to lose weight, but they'll expect because it's exercise that they're going to lose weight. Like, but you don't understand what it does to your body. You're going to be, your spine, your support system is going to be better. Your core is going to be stronger. You're going to be more flexible and more agile, but you might not lose any weight. That's not built into Pilates. But then if that's what you went to Pilates for, you're going to be pretty frustrated about Pilates.
yeah.
And on the flip side with yoga, you have people that are super stressed out and then they go to yoga and they're taught to breathe and then they sleep better and they do lose weight. They go, yoga is magical. I'm like, okay, yoga is not magical. You just actually slowed down long enough for your cortisol levels to come down and your adrenals to come back into balance. And because of that, you lost weight because your body was holding on to all this inflammation because of all the stress that you're under. So
I,
again, if we understand what we're getting when we go into the thing, that's why if we create sort of a personalized map, then we'll say, yeah, oh my God, I want some Reiki right now. Please come in and help me like pull this energy out because I'm at that place where I want that assistance and I'm know what to expect from it and I value it right now. And I don't expect it to do this, this, and this, but I need it to do this. And I know that's what it does. So it's really about being more mindful and discerning and educated about what you're choosing to do so that your expectations are in alignment with what your choices are so that you get the most out of it.
absolutely. So I like to ask what's in your toolbox. So if you've kind of given us some examples, but you can give us another one just to kind of add to our own little toolbox because I love Honoponopono. I really do. That is awesome. It's okay, you're getting ready to go live and you see somebody on your production crew. You're like heading out to the stage and you know you need this person to be on point, whether they're your audio engineer, your light guy, whoever, and they're stressed out. What do you do in like, okay, I've got 5 minutes. I gotta be on stage in 5 minutes. I need you calm and ready. What do you pull out to say, okay, we need to get you calm and ready and peaceful?
So I would probably teach them sort of a guided meditation of connecting themselves. So doing an alchemy between earth energy and source energy, of having their feet on the floor and sort of closing their eyes and then imagining that you have veins coming out of the bottom of your feet and then them traveling to the center of the earth, to the earth's center and the earth's core. And every time you take a deep inhalation, you suck up earth's energy through those veins up into your feet and up into your body. And you watch that travel all the way up your body and you imagine it and you feel it. You envision that you're feeling whatever color, you give it a color, right? You give it a temperature and a sensation. So the way when you're pulling it up your legs, you can feel your legs. You're just opening up your chakras, but this is a way to do it that is more, it connects with people better than just say, breathe into the chakra. Like, when you make it more believable, and then they can kind of tune into it. I don't mean believable that chakras aren't believable, but you know what I mean, like more easy for everybody to understand, right? So if they can like sort of breathe that in all the way to the top of their head and then quickly kind of reach up in their mind's eye and thousands of feet above source energy, God, whatever that is for you, creator, Allah, Jesus, whatever. Okay, you go up and you get that pure love, that pure white light love, source energy, crystalline energy, and you pull that down and you bring that down however is good for you, whether it be through sort of the hole in the head, like a beam coming down through you, or you can imagine sort of sprinkle fairy dust coming down and like raindrops, like you feel it on your face, you feel it on your shoulders and on your arms and on your hands and on your feet. And it's literally alchemizing that stress. So it's taking earth energy into the body and bringing down source energy. And now we're good. So someone could do that. That's one way of doing it. I do a lot of full moon ceremonies and new moon circles. And it always starts out with a visualization similar to that. I have an intuition course that starts out with different, and each week has a different one, depending on what we're learning. If that's too much time and too much detail for someone, they could literally just close their eyes and do a vision board, do a mental vision board. So put yourself in a scene that's relaxing. So if it's the ocean, you can say, close your eyes for a second, imagine your feet in the sand. What does that feel like? And you got to go through all of your senses. So what you feel. So what do you feel? Oh, I feel the warmth of the sand. I feel the breeze. I feel the salt from the waves on my skin, like little raindrops. Okay, what do you smell? I smell the salt. I smell coconut oil, tanning lotion. I smell whatever else you smell. I smell the salt from the water. Okay, what do you hear? Oh, I hear the seagulls and I hear the waves crashing. What do you taste? Well, I taste the salt water on my lips and on my skin. So what I have feel, taste. Oh, feel was not. So touch, it's touch. So then the feel. So then what, anything else that would bring in the senses to visualize and have you there at the beach. So that way you are going to believe, minus the hearing piece if you happen to be somewhere that's noisy. But again, I believe in learning how to meditate and to visualize in chaos, because it's easy to do it when it's quiet. But can you tap
Yes.
in when there's chaos?
Yes, yes, yes. That is not easy. And it is something that I also am a big proponent of. It's like you can get quiet and centered in a noisy place that you've reached a point where no one can take your peace.
Definitely.
That's a true statement. I've been at many an event where people are like, "You're going to do Reiki at this loud like convention space." It's like, I can get you guys to calm down and where you don't hear anything else, I've done it right. And there have been many a time where I just worked on somebody for 15 minutes and they were like, I and they come back and they're like, "I didn't hear any of this." I'm like, "You weren't supposed to." So I did it right. It's like I got you nice and quiet and calm. So yes, the true test is doing it in a room full of chaos,
Yep.
which is easy.
No, but it's a great muscle to build.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, and on that note, I want to say thank you so much for being on, JJ, and sharing your story and what brings you peace and some tips and tricks along the way.
Awesome. Thanks, Janice. It was a great conversation. Thank you so much for inviting me on. I hope it was helpful to those that are listening. And again, I invite anybody to come to jjflizanes.com. A lot of free stuff there. This whole talk I talked about, the 3 reasons why talk therapy is ineffective, is there. And then, of course, there are links to all my podcasts, which are free. So a lot of free stuff to consume if this interests you at all.
Beautiful. We're gonna put JJ in the green room and be right back. So I want to thank everyone who has been live with us and anyone who is watching the replay. Thank you for joining us. Please leave a comment, questions. We can get them to JJ if you have any questions after the fact. And again, visit her website. She has all the free stuff there and her podcast as well. A special note on Sunday. We will be going live from a studio here on Long Island, Tied In Studios, and my guest Yvonne Cook, fellow master Reiki master teacher and healer, will be joining me. So look forward to seeing you. That is going to be at a special time. That is going to be at noon Eastern here on the East Coast. So join us then, and thank you very much.